These are 25 Fortnite settings pros use that you probably don't. After years of digging through pro player settings and testing them myself, I'm sharing the absolute best Fortnite settings that you need to know about to improve your gameplay. First up is mouse sensitivity. Right now, 6.4% is easily the most common X and Y amongst the best performing players. Peterbot, Cold, Bugger, Acorn and Poyo are all using it, and if not, pros like Aegis and Amonzo are running something extremely close. The reason why is because it fits perfectly with the current low to medium sense meta, especially with every pro player having a competitive setup that features a very large mouse pad and basically replicates a LAN style layout. Pretty much every pro pairs this sensitivity with 800 DPI and 1000 Hz pollen rate, because 400 DPI is outdated and 1000 Hz is more than enough. Yes, 2000, 4000 and even 8000 Hz do exist, but the latency gains are barely noticeable in game, and they come with a bunch of downsides like higher CPU usage and very poor battery life. If they did actually make a real difference, every top player would have switched by now, but they haven't. What actually makes more of a difference is how your mouse is set up. With mostly every pro using a wireless mouse, it's very important that you use the dongle extender and keep it on your desk. Logitech recommend within 20 centimeters of the mouse itself, as that's the best way to maintain a strong wireless connection. However, we have seen some pros like Peterbot that do stretch this slightly, but as long as it's on your desk, you should be fine. It's also really important that you plug the dongle into the rear USB port of the PC itself and not the front one. This is because the rear ports connect directly to the motherboard, which helps reduce input delay. Oh, and don't forget to turn off the enhanced pointer precision in Windows if you haven't already, as this is the mouse acceleration and it can make your aim very inconsistent and mess with muscle memory. Next up is in-game brightness, and this one's very simple. A lot of pros crank this up to like 125% or even higher, and the reason behind this is so they can see better in-game, especially when it comes to end-game storm fights. You'll see players like Peterbot, Cold, Canada, Bolt and even Shark all have their brightness boosted up high. It's one of those very small changes that can instantly improve your visibility, but it doesn't just stop at in-game brightness. You'll see a lot of pros also boost their digital vibrance through their NVIDIA control panels. Clicks and even Peterbot both run their digital vibrance at around 70 to 75%, and this is one of those settings that can make a big difference in game. It essentially makes your colors pop a lot more. Many claim it also makes the zones look a lot more clearer and helps enemies stand out better, which could help you massively in those end games when the zone is constantly moving and there's just builds everywhere. Next up is custom actuation, and this is where keyboards actually start to matter. Most pros are using keyboards like the Wooten or the Apex Pro, which allow you to set how deep you want your key to be pressed before it registers. Instead of the standard keyboards that only have 2mm actuation, these sort of esports grade keyboards allow you to go down to as low as 0.1mm, which as you can imagine literally activates the key with the lightest of taps. These super low actuation points are very popular with pros, with most of them choosing to have 0.1 or 0.2. The lower you set this number, the faster your responsiveness feels in-game. It's one of those changes you don't notice until you go back, and then everything feels slower. This gets even better with something called rapid trigger. Instead of waiting for the key to fully come back up, rapid trigger resets it as soon as you lift your finger. That's why a lot of pros are using this specific function with their edit key only, as it makes spam edits feel way faster. For aim, some pros take this even further by using a Crosshair Overlay program that essentially adds a static crosshair on top of Fortnite's default one. I've seen players like Rezon, Mr. Savage and Mongrel have all used these at some point. Yes, it seems that a lot of them may have been sponsored, but even then I'm pretty sure that you can actually get free versions of a Crosshair Overlay if you did really want to use one. I will say though that not every pro likes these. I did hear that Peterbot himself actually hates overlays and completely avoids them.
I would never use that crosshair.
If you're on an Nvidia GPU, like a lot of pros are, you want to scroll down to the bottom of your video settings and check out this Nvidia setting. It basically optimizes how the game engine submits rendering to the GPU, minimizing the time between the player's input and the visual response on screen, which helps reduce system latency. If you have a high-end PC, you'll be fine on HUD Boost, but if you have a medium-end PC, you might only want to have it on. And if you notice any sort of FPS drops or weird stutters, just turn the setting off. When it comes to movement, you'll see a lot of the best players use custom diagonal controls to unlock a much smoother strafing angle. It can be very beneficial if you are a fan of that controller-like movement. A bunch of pros do use this, and they use a variety of different configurations, but not everyone is. Take peterbot for example. He actually keeps this movement turned off, so he just uses the default one, as it does suit his playstyle more. Next up is something a little bit niche, but it can apparently help. Veno, the pro that you should all know, explained that if you leave your switch quickbar unbound, it can actually cause a slight input delay when you are switching between builds. So in order to fix and prevent that, all you need to do is bind the switch quickbar to something that you'll never press, like the hashtag key, and that small delay will go away. Another thing that is a bit niche that you don't hear much about is how pros set their HUD scale to 80% or less, and on top of that they'll disable any unnecessary UI elements. What this does is clear up your entire HUD, so any sort of distractions will be gone. Oh, and they also turn on the reticle ammo indicator, so their bullet count shows right in the middle of the screen, so they don't have to look away at the bottom right corner. When it comes to view distance, most players will leave this on low to get more FPS, but I have seen a lot of pros set this to higher, like medium, far, or even epic. The reason why isn't because it helps you see enemies at a further render distance. That's wrong, that's actually capped. But what it does help with is loading in build, loot, and map info earlier, which can be very beneficial when you're gliding in early game and trying to spot like good loot on the floor. Speaking of getting more FPS, you guys will know that a lot of pros decide to turn off most of their replay settings. They'll turn off both of these energy saving options, and they'll also turn down all their graphical options to low to overall make their graphics look a lot lower and overall boost their FPS. To take that even further, you'll notice that every pro is using the performance mode renderer. Not only does it run better than DirectX 12 because it cuts down a lot of graphical load, pair that up with low meshes, which simplifies the builds visually and makes the break-in animations a lot more cleaner. One thing you can't forget about is the cumulative damage numbers. Most pros are using this because it separates the hit stacking across the screen, so you just see one clean total rather than a bunch of damage numbers being listed. On top of that, a lot of them will increase their number scale to make the damage numbers a lot more clearer in the middle of fights. Auto confirm edits is another one a lot of them are using. This essentially saves you a step when you are editing. You just click the edit key, release it, and that's it done. It basically saves time, and it can make your edits feel a lot more faster and smoother. However, I will say that not every pro is using this. You've got a few on screen that aren't a fan, but you've also got on screen a lot of people who are a fan. One thing that every pro is using, and it's something I'm sure you've heard of before, is scroll wheel reset. If somehow you've not heard of this, it basically allows you to instantly reset edits by just scrolling, which can be especially useful in box fights. I know a lot of you would have had this set up years and years ago, but for those that are new to the game, you definitely need this. You may have also noticed that a lot of pros are using the 131 grip, and this grip right here is perfect for mouse wheel reset. When compared to a normal grip, you can imagine which one will be resetting walls a lot quicker. Speaking of weird mouse grips though, another thing that might look weird is keybinds. A lot of Fortnite pros keybinds do look very strange, and it does make you think, how are they pressing all these buttons, and are they even optimal? The short answer is yes. Take Poyo for example. His keybind setup is highly efficient because he has quick access to all the important actions without overloading any one finger. These are very optimal because he can press every key within close reach while maintaining his movement. However, I will admit that some pros like peterbot can do all of this while overloading one finger. So it does just go to show that if you practice enough with certain keybinds, you will get used to them and they will feel optimal to you. But for those new to the game, I would recommend Poyo's keybinds. Next up, we've got audio, and you'll notice that every pro is using the high sound quality option. With a lot of the pros using headsets like the HyperX Cloud Freeze or the Logitech Pro X, this setting is definitely better and it will make your audio a lot more clearer. Yes, it's very slight, but you'll notice it more if you also tweak your Windows sound settings. In the playback options, you want this on 48k Hz. You also want to use the exclusive mode, and for those that use Discord to communicate, it's super important you set your communications to do nothing. Overall, these settings will make you have better audio in-game. Oh, and speaking of audio, I can't forget about visualize sound effects. This simply turns your sound cues into on-screen indicators. So everything from chest sounds to footsteps to glides, basically everything will pop up visually as they happen in real time. It's one of those settings that if you're not using it, you're at a significant disadvantage. Next up, we're back in the video settings tab, and you'll see that some pros out there are using their FPS limit on unlimited. However, you will see more pros choose to cap their FPS to match their monitor's refresh rate. There's even some that use an FPS limiter like Rivet Tuner that essentially allows you to do the exact same thing but get better frame pacing, which can help reduce micro stuttering for some players. Oh, and if you didn't know, the full screen option gives you the lowest amount of input delay. That's not to say every pro is using full screen though, as they don't. Some pros like peterbot choose to use windowed full screen, as you can do stuff like alt tab a lot quicker. But please, if you do use this, make sure to enable this setting in the Windows settings to keep your input delay the exact same as full screen mode. Oh, and while we are speaking of displays, you need to make sure your monitor is actually set to the highest possible refresh rate. To find out, just literally head into your Windows display settings and make sure this value right here is on the highest one possible. This is definitely worth mentioning, as over the years I've seen plenty of players upgrade their monitor but don't realize they've been using 60Hz the entire time. And finally, we've got another monitor setting that some people don't even know about. If you go into your monitor's on-screen menu and go into its settings, you might have an amazing feature like Diac, which is basically a motion blur reduction feature that can help reduce blur and ghosting when you're doing like fast flicks or even tracking. If not that, you may have an overclock feature where you can boost your monitor's refresh rate, or even a response time feature where you can lower your monitor's latency. Be careful when changing these two settings though, because you can get something called overshooting or artifacts appear. When testing them, you want to use something like Blurbuster's UFO test to find what's good for your monitor. And yeah, that right there was all 25 settings. Please let me know if I did miss any. Also, if you guys do want more guides, I'm putting everything on a new website I'm working on, which I'll leave a link to in the description below. And before you do go, feel free to check out any of my other videos on screen right now.